Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing some of the better value bets in college basketball for November 16, 2016. There's not that many games on the board today, so this video isn't going to be very long. I just have a handful of games that I'm going to be covering. If you want more pick content beyond just what you're getting in this video, you can head over to stumpthespread.com. We have daily free plays over there, as well as our higher confidence premium picks that you can subscribe to. And if you're on desktop, you can click this logo right here and it'll take you right over there, and I'll also link it in the description. And also, if you could, subscribing to the channel really helps, and it gets you notifications of when I release these videos. And also, if you can click the thumbs up, that also really helps, and I really appreciate it. Alright, so heading into the main content of this video, starting with Northwestern against Butler. This is a pretty interesting matchup here. This is a Northwestern squad that quietly had quite a bit of success last year, getting over that 20-win mark. And this is a Wildcats team that returns 3 starters to a group that has at least the makeup to be a team that could potentially push for a spot in the NCAA tournament. It's really going to come down to what Northwestern, most likely what they do in the non-conference, if they're able to build up their resume enough or not, because getting a bunch of resume wins inside the Big Ten conference is a lot easier said than done. So getting a win here on the road against Butler would be huge for this Northwestern squad early on in the year, but it's not going to be an easy task. This is a Butler team that loses some of their top offensive pieces from last year's squad, but does return some of their top players, including Martin, who's one of the better players in the Big East. This is a Butler team that has a pretty solid home court advantage, but we do think Northwestern can keep this one competitive enough to where they have the betting value, getting the 7 points here. Next game I want to touch on is Tulsa versus Wichita State. Tulsa lost 4 starters from last year's team that won over 20 games. This is a Tulsa team that's kind of in rebuild mode as a result. Head coach Haith has his work cut out for him this year, because Tulsa is expected to take quite a significant step back, and that was evident in their opener as they went on to lose at home by double digits to a Jacksonville State squad that's not going to be, a very threatening team this year. So pretty bad result for them in their opener. And now they go on the road to Wichita State, who is a team that also lost some key pieces from last year's tournament team, but we felt like this Wichita State team would take somewhat of a step back this year, but still compete right at the top of the Missouri Valley. But based on what we've seen out of the Shockers early on, they've had 2 home games thus far, and they've blown out both teams. And really what was impressive was their last win against what should be a pretty decent Long Beach State squad. They went on to beat them 92-55, which is a very impressive win for Wichita State. The Shockers have been looking really good on their home court thus far. We really aren't going to get a great idea of if this group has really taken a step back or not this year until they go on the road in tough environments, now that they no longer have some of their key veteran players from last year's team. But based on what we've seen from this group thus far, it's very encouraging, and we can already see this spread has moved up quite a bit based on what these teams have been showing us this year. But we still think that Wichita State is the slightly better value play here, just based on what we've been seeing out of them. Alright, moving on down, the next game that I want to talk about is going to be UC Irvine against Cal. So UC Irvine, another team that has lost quite a bit from last year's team. They lose 4 starters. UC Irvine had some of the best depth in the Big West last year, and a lot of those guys that were bench players last year are moving into the starting lineup. So this is still a UC Irvine squad that has the ability to compete in the upper tier of the Big West this year, but they're no longer the prohibitive favorites over there. And then, this kind of seems like the theme of this video, but this is a Cal team that has lost a ton of talent from last year's team onto professional ball. They move on 3 starters, including one of the top picks in the NBA draft in Jaylen Brown this past summer. California returns some pieces, but this is a group that's expected to take a step back this year and finish more in the mid-tier of the Pac-12. Ivan Rabb, he's the guy to look out for on this Cal squad this year, and also in particular to Cal Irvine, Luke Nelson is their best player. So each team's best guy is questionable coming into this one. So if both of these guys are able to play, I do think that Irvine is the slightly better value bet here, getting 14 points on the road in what could be more of a defensive battle. But these injuries are definitely worth keeping your eye on for this particular matchup. All right, just a couple more games I want to touch on. First is Morehead State against Marshall. Morehead State is picked to finish more in the middle of the OVC this year, over there in the Ohio Valley Conference East Division. And then we have a Marshall team that really opened up the year last year really poorly, but as the season went on, this group looked a lot more comfortable in their system that they deploy, which is the up-tempo press style. One of my favorite styles to watch in college basketball, but Marshall returns a large portion of last year's team that really closed on a good note, going 12-6 in Conference USA, and this is a Marshall squad that's going to be able to, or at least should be able to, find a similar success in their conference this year. But with their home court advantage, we do think that Marshall has pretty decent betting value here, as they should go on to win and cover the spread. Also, Marshall's a really tough team to prep for, given their unique style that they deploy. So it's going to be interesting to see how Morehead State handles that full court press defense. All right, and the last game that I want to touch on, there's two more games I want to touch on here. I want to talk about this Fort Wayne Illinois State matchup, and then also the Idaho Northern Illinois game is going to finish out this video. So first with Fort Wayne against Illinois State. Fort Wayne got over that 20-win mark last year, and they return a lot of experience from that squad. We do expect Fort Wayne to compete near the top of the Summit League this year. In their opener, they actually competed pretty well on the road against Arkansas, but they did come up short in that one in the end. But this is another tough road matchup to test this group. And then we have Illinois State, who's coming into the year returning a lot of talent to a team that's expected to finish in the upper tier of the Missouri Valley. In their opener on the road against Murray State, Illinois State competed pretty well, but they kind of ran into a Murray State squad that got hot from behind the arc at the end, and that was the difference maker, as Illinois State was dealt the defeat in that particular matchup. We do think that Fort Wayne has the type of experience to handle this road atmosphere and even have some success against this Illinois State defense, which is pretty threatening. So we do like Fort Wayne getting the 6.5 points here in what should be a pretty competitive matchup. And finally, the last game I want to talk about is Idaho against Northern Illinois. So Idaho quietly had a really solid campaign last year, getting over that 20-win mark and having a lot of success in the Big Sky, which is a pretty respectable conference. They went 12-6 in that league. They return a large portion of that roster, and we do expect Idaho to compete right near the top of the Big Sky again this year. So they're definitely a team to keep your eye out on. And then Northern Illinois, another team, they had kind of more success in the non-conference last year than in the conference per se. But then again, they didn't have necessarily the toughest non-conference slate by any means. They went 9-9 in the MAC last year, and they return about half of their key guys. The big one is going to be their center, Marin Maric, who's one of the best big men in the MAC conference, and that should keep Northern Illinois respectable in their conference this season. So I'm looking forward to watching this game. Both of these teams return a good amount of talent to squads that had quite a bit of success last year, getting over that 20-win mark. But I do expect Idaho to compete here in what should be a pretty competitive matchup. So getting the 7 points feels like a pretty solid bet in this particular matchup. So that's going to do it for the games that I want to talk about for the November 16 games in college basketball. I'm going to be, again, releasing these videos on pretty much a daily basis throughout the college basketball season. So if you're interested in getting notifications on when I release these videos, you can subscribe to the channel. And also, if you're looking for matchup articles, not just in college basketball, but also college football, the NFL, the NBA, and NHL. Those are the sports that are currently in season right now. You can head on over to stumpthespread.com. We cover all of those sports, and you can register a free account there to get our daily free plays, or step up and get a premium membership to get all of our top confidence bets. So thanks, guys, for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.